Well, thank you for being here, Jake.
Yes.
And well, everyone that is listening and watching, we have Jake Catterall here, the 200-kilometer man, not only, but
among other things.
And the last thing, 200-kilometer man. And maybe you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Yeah,
it's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's nice to be able to see you guys again after the run. Personal background. Well, I've always been an athletic person my whole life. I've actually always been a runner. I did like fun runs when I was at school, primary school. Even my mum sent me a little certificate from my primary school of coming like 4th place in the relay. She was
really?
like, oh
nice.
my God. She was like, look what I found. And throughout my kind of school years, I've always been like into kind of outdoor sports.
Yeah.
I think that's where the kind of pedigree is kind of built itself. It was like running at primary school. Then it was indoor rock climbing. And I did that for ages. I did that for 10 years maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that as a commitment as a young boy was quite a big commitment. And then I got into motorcycle racing. Well, like racing, it was more like not illegal street racing, but you know what I'm saying? It was,
interesting.
It was like I like to go fast, and I bought a big bike, and that didn't last long because I crashed it, obviously, because you're young and crazy.
What bike did you have?
It was a Yamaha FZR 600. So it was a like big speedy bike.
Yeah.
And then I just did what a normal person does, which is like go to like school or uni and like get drunk all the time and be a like normal person.
But all still in Britain, right? Because born in Britain?
Yeah.
Where there?
A place called Leicester.
I think I heard of it.
Yeah, which used to be a place where no one had ever heard of. And then years ago, they won the Premiership. Or I'm not a big football fan. And they did. And then all of a sudden, like I was on holiday somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And I said, I was from Leicester. And they're like, whoa, Leicester. And I'm like, whoa, you know it? You know this. This is crazy. Yeah. So that was kind of my like background in like sport.
Yeah.
And then I ended up just taking it really seriously. After I had a conversation with a good friend of mine who just kind of asked me like, what are you doing with your life? He literally was like, what are you doing with your life right now?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like other than going out and getting drunk every day, like that's about it.
Yeah.
You know?
When was this about? Like what age?
23.
Okay.
I'm 28 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think these questions can be asked to a young person at some point, but like at 17, I would be like, yeah, what am I doing? But then I forget this thought and then could just go on with what.
Oh, yeah.
So like you also have to be in a certain stage that you actually do want to
You're
think.
ready
like,
to reflect on your
exactly.
life.
100%.
What you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the classic. I have a lot of mentors, and basically every single one of those mentors says the same thing. If you're not ready to learn, then you never will. So, you know, like you just have to be ready. And as you said, if you're too young to realize that it's your time, then it's not your time.
Yeah. Then you came to the Netherlands 5 years ago,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So five-ish, maybe a bit more now. I came to the Netherlands, and then I've been working in advertising for the last 6 years.
So actually, like, I'm just counting back because you say you're 28 and 5 years ago, so you were 23, and 23 was also a moment that you took it seriously, your life and all the challenges.
Yeah, it was quick.
Was all happening at the same time.
Yeah. So I basically, at university, I was a part of an athletics team.
Yeah.
But to be quite honest, all of my team members were very serious about the athletics team, and I kind of swooped in every other training session when I was not hungover, because I would just like go out and party all the time.
Yeah.
And I actually was decent. I was a decent runner, and I think that aggravated a few people as well.
I was about to say, like, this is the most annoying thing. Like, you're not doing shit, but then you're one of the best.
Wait, well, I was good.
The team.
Yeah, but I was good, but I wasn't that good. I got exposed once on a run, and it was like the most embarrassing thing ever. There was 3 guys who I knew were really good on the team, and I just kind of started. And we went for a 400 meter reps for, I don't know, 10 laps. Yeah. And on the first lap, I was like, I'm going to show these guys what I'm about. And the first lap, I did show them. And then the second lap, I just completely fell apart, and it was so embarrassing. And then I think then I realized, I was like, okay, well,
Deserved.
Well deserved. It's like
lesson learned.
Yeah.
Never again.
Yeah.
And flash forward. That's what I was about to say. To a couple of 2 weeks ago, and you just completed a 200-kilometer run. How did that start? The whole project thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, because it's not only the 200 kilometers. Before that, you did also quite some.
It's a series of projects.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have to say, it was my friend here in Amsterdam as I was saying earlier, who had a chat with me, who said, like, what are you doing? And it basically rode on the back of me coming from the athletics team and coming into Amsterdam. And I was doing all the kind of gym training that I was doing so that I could run fast at uni. And I think that was all in a bit secret as well. Whilst I was at university, I was going to the gym quite a lot and trying to stay fit. And when I came to Amsterdam, I think he kind of came at it from a person who didn't really like the gym, generally speaking. And he was just asking me like what I was doing. But it's something that really switched my philosophy, which was like, he just asked like, what are you doing the gym for here in Amsterdam? He was like, because you're not a part of an athletics team, Jake. That was at uni. And I was like, oh, he's right. Like, I'm not a part of the team anymore. I'm not a part of a team. And he was like, yeah, well, from my perspective, you are literally just in a gym working out and making yourself look good for really no output. Like, what is it that you're doing? And I was like, well, I'm doing it to feel good. And he was like, oh yeah. Like everyone says, you just do it to feel good and whatever. And his perspective was just like, it's not like enough. Like life is so huge and there's so much to it, and there's so much life in the world, and there's so much to see in the world. And if you just are spending so much of your time in a box lifting some weights, then like you miss the opportunity to be doing amazing things. And he just said to me, you need to use your talent and take it somewhere. Like if you think you're good at running, then go and run somewhere. Go to South Africa or go to somewhere. Put that to work. And actually at the time, and I'd gone on like family trips away abroad, like, and I'm so grateful for being able to do that when I was young. But like, he opened my eyes to what I should be doing and where I should be going. And I do credit him, Henry. He knows who he is if he's listening. And then it just cascaded. It just went crazy. Like from there, because I'm a big commitment guy. Yeah. I think the climbing thing I said earlier is a good reference of that. And it just went crazy from there. I took a Euro trip away to see cities of Europe, and it was like my first solo holiday away. And then basically I hated it because I didn't go and do what I actually wanted to do. I just did what everyone else does.
Okay, yeah.
You know, oh yeah, just go on a Euro trip and go to cities and see the world. Yeah, no, fuck, that's bullshit. Yeah. Like you just went to a city because everyone else goes on this thing. Yeah. And then after I got back from that trip, I was like, why the fuck did I go and sit around in hostels and do stuff like on the cheap and just sit around hot cities for the last 2 weeks? So, no. I was like, why did I do that? And I asked myself then, if you could have gone on a holiday that would have made you feel good, where would you have gone?
What would have been the answer?
Go to the mountains. Yeah. That was the answer. I was like, why did I not go to the mountains? And of course, the first answer that you probably might say to people who are cautious, which is, don't go to the mountains by yourself. Like, how could you go on a solo trip away or whatever? Yeah. And the answer is like, why? Like, what is the reason for that? Like, what, like, oh, of course, like going away in the mountains alone is like risky. Yeah. But like going to European cities is risky. Yeah. Like,
you can also prepare for that. So
100%. Yeah. And, I'm glad you said prepare for that, because I did go on a mountain trip recently. Well, like not far after that. And I didn't prepare for it. And it was an absolute disaster. Oh, it was so bad. I went to Albania. Okay. Yeah, I know, which is not the first one you would probably expect. And I flew into Kosovo, which obviously is like still repairing itself after years of issues. And I went to Albania, and basically I arrived in my accommodation, and long story short, it was like there was really thick, wet snow, and it meant like trying to get through snow was a like real technical thing, and you had to be very smart about like slides and like getting literally stuck in cavities. And like I was the only person on the mountain as well. But I was taking the philosophy of like, yeah, you know what? If I want to fucking climb in mountains, I will just go and do it, you know? And there I remember being up on this mountain, being like thick cloud coverage down to my waist in wet snow, in clothes that were definitely not waterproof. And I was and I told my parents, I told everyone where I was going. I'll be honest, I didn't tell anyone. And I remember being up there being like,
That's
this
nice.
is a really bad idea, like what I'm doing right now. And then I went back to my accommodation and there was going to be a huge snowstorm like the next day. So I was like, oh, fuck, I need to get out of here. So I went to Macedonia, which is a bit further away, and had a really nightmare story again on that mountain. I climbed up a mountain and got snowblind basically at the top because I wasn't wearing proper
goggles,
like goggles and I was totally blind, and I thought I could follow my tracks back to the car.
Well, I'm sorry, what is snowblind? I'm not a...
It's when the sun basically reflects onto the snow, bounces up into your eyes. And if you look up at a light, for 10 minutes, you get that little black dot when you blink, right?
Yeah.
Well, think of that dot that just grows over your whole...
that's
it's so powerful.
Scary.
Yeah. So I have no experience. I don't have any clothes that are really like that good.
You're on top of a fucking mountain.
I'm on a mountain and I'm snowblind and I lost my tracks because they got covered over. So I literally was just like, oh,
this is where I die.
Fuck. Yeah. Like this is why everyone says like, don't do all that like mountaineering by yourself. And after that trip, there is actually more to that story, but it's like, you get the picture.
Yeah.
There was actually wild dogs that ended up attacking my car, but like that's a bit of...
goodness. Should we only have a podcast about this one?
It's a good trip.
Yeah. So basically the sentiment was like, this is a story a lesson I learned the hard way on something that like, if you want something and you actually wanted to do it from the beginning, like it doesn't matter how hard it is. Like if you want it, you should just do it. You should keep doing it and just keep doing it. You know what I mean? And like, I'm not going to lie. I came back to work from that trip and people like my office is like a really nice place where everyone likes to share about their personal lives and everything. How was your trip, Jake? Yeah. Oh, wow. Like, yeah, mate. I had this like blank look on my face. Like I looked really tired and like my eyes, I hadn't slept well at all for like weeks or a week. And yeah, deep down, I was like, I have literally nearly been on the edge of death for a week and you have no idea. But like I learned it the hard way. So, it actually solidified how much I love being on that like kind of
the edge
of life. Yeah. I'd done it so much with motorcycles and like climbing. And then I was like, as much as I did, like that holiday backfired, like I learned a lot about what I like.
Yeah.
You know,
the extreme.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. This extreme feeling of doing something a bit dangerous, a bit fast, with a lot of,
but that exposed me, I must say. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I remember I didn't tell my parents on the phone because they called and they were like, how are you and everything? And I was like, yeah, I had a great holiday. Kosovo is great.
Afterwards, I think I would be fine telling my parents, like when it's happening, like calling in the holidays, I would not. But afterwards, like, nothing happened as they can see.
And this is your first like extreme experience in a way.
Yeah.
Out there on the...
Yeah.
Well,
like,
you had
when
those,
when it was like all on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Like, I think that's the lesson which is still carrying through to all of my other, and you actually asked the question earlier, like the build up to the 200K. I think that's kind of the first lesson, which is just like, it is hard. Like things are hard and just deal with that. Like, I think like we live in a society where everything is like supposed to be harmless and like we should shy away from pain and we should try and like stay away from problems and stuff. And I'm like, fuck that. Like, why? Like things are difficult. And actually, the more you work at them, the more you realize that actually when you get to the thing that you wanted to get to, it's unbelievably satisfying. Like the level of what you get out of something that you worked your ass off for and actually hurt you in some respect, it's it's like the paramount. It's
the
like
rewards,
the best.
of going out of your comfort zone and achieving something special.
Yeah, we live in a society of snowflakes who just like shy away from problems, and I think it's about time we just start all waking up and stop being such little fucking bitches
and fucking live. Live our life.
Yeah,
I think it's you mentioned or you reposted something about that life is so short that we have to burn the candles both way and light it up in the middle as well. And I thought that was a perfect analogy. Like, it's you gotta enjoy. You never know when stopping, when things are going down, and if you don't do the things you want to do now, then when are you going to do it? And actually, part of this journey towards the 200K, there's been like a bit more approach from different brands. Like here today, we're having a podcast because stuff's happened, and like brands have been involved and like other things and whatever. And this has been like a natural progression. And there's something that I definitely mistook from the beginning, which was that these things come to you when you actually make them come to you. You know what I mean? Like I had this thing in my head where I was like, if I keep doing like these long distance rides and I keep doing fast half marathons and I keep doing like things, I'll get picked up 100% because that's just how life works, right? Someone sees you and then all of a sudden like your life explodes. Sometimes it does.
Sometimes,
but it's not
like the reality of like being in a position where you actually are working your ass off and no one is seeing you. Well, the reason is because you're not sharing it. You're not being enough outspoken. You're not putting yourself in the right place to be seen by others. So it's like, like you just have to be way more like outspoken. And I think like there's a huge life lesson in that also. Like just take 100% like of your own, like your commitment to something. Like you have to be all in and shout about it as well. Like be proud of what you do.
And why also waiting for someone to like find you when you have like, you can take a steer and just like go for it yourself.
100%. Why should I care about someone who kind of half cares about something? Like I use this with my girlfriend quite often where there was a guy who I recently worked with. His name's Edo from a t-shirt printing company. Amazing guy. And seriously, if you talk to him about t-shirts, I guarantee you walk out there thinking that t-shirt's the best thing ever. Seriously. You got like, I walked out, I was like, whoa, I want to start making t-shirts because this is a fucking amazing. And he has committed his energy to t-shirts, and that's what you get for committing. You get this like this energy that you just can't get anywhere else. You absorb. It's like it comes to you, and then all of a sudden you're filled with energy. And I feel like that's the same with me and like running right now. Is that like it's so consumable? You're just like, whoa, fuck! Like running is also like a thing, and I love it now. You know? I'm not saying that everyone has to run 200K, but like I have a lot of energy for it.
Yeah, the pushing of yourself to always do more. We actually also received the question from some of our listeners, like, are you then ever satisfied with what you've done? And if yes, how does the joy, the happiness feel for you doing the thing or like afterwards?
Or is the ceiling always pushed higher,
Yeah. This is a really now simple answer, right? Which it didn't used to be. I've been having a lot of chats with my dad about this, and he does a lot of training for like businesses or whatever to try and get them to complete their like annual goals in the right way. So basically, I've done a few like big events, like solo events in the last couple of years. So like I rode to Berlin in like one go. It was 700 Ks of cycling, which when I got to the end was hugely not disappointing, but definitely underwhelming for sure. I did an Ironman, which I'd never done a triathlon before. I'd never even swam. I
was about to say, but I hope he is not saying like he never swam before, because people find the swimming the hardest part.
Never swam.
You won from all Dutch people.
In
New Zealand, not swimming before. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was like crazy. Like the never swimming and then adding, like entering into an Ironman was just like mad. And it's probably the biggest flame under your ass that you can ever get.
Are you so good in cycling and running that you could make up for it? Or are you just a natural talent in everything sports? What's it?
No,
I owned it.
No, I did. I committed a lot to the swim because I knew it was going to be my weakest one.
Oh, okay. I understood that you did not swim before.
No, but you prepare. You have to prepare before.
Yeah, okay.
You cannot just go and be like,
but that's
okay,
what I misunderstood. I understood that you did not prepare the swimming before actually doing the Ironman.
Yeah. Oh, wait, no. I did,
the actual race, I mean.
Yeah. So before the committing to the race, like buying the ticket, it wasn't just like I had no
That's what I understood.
Swimming.
And I was like,
an Ironman. Let's subscribe. When does it start? At 10. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I lost my train of thought. Where I was going
you were talking about pushing yourself, being satisfied.
Satisfied. So I did the Ironman and basically had the same feeling. It was like I trained so hard for it and I got to the end and the expectation of finishing the Ironman, I thought it was going to be like I would be crawling over the line because it was going to kill me because that's what I thought an Ironman would do to me. Mm-hmm. And it didn't. And actually, like, it just took a few days and then I was walking again and then we had a nice holiday and stuff and climbed some mountains. So it was like, you realize when you get to the end of these things, you're just like, wow, why was my expectation the thing that ruined that? And that's what it is. So basically, I didn't want the same thing to happen again on the 200K because I'm obviously now seeing a pattern of being like, not seeing the right thing of the end of an event. You have to enjoy the end and the process, obviously. But basically, yes, you can be satisfied. And it's not just about what goal you're setting yourself for. So my goal was the 200K. Mm-hmm. You don't just set yourself a goal that is to run 200 kilometers. You also set some goals on how to run 200 kilometers and how you want to enter in and finish it and do it, you know? So my goals were to try and smile for as much as I could through a 200K run. And like some people might say like, oh yeah, like you're being like soft by saying, oh, smile. Oh, what are you going to do? Like walk around and like laugh and joke.
They don't know what it is.
No, seriously, it's actually really hard to be positive. Yeah. Like that's a challenge in itself on doing one of those distances. So you challenge yourself to be happy and positive. And the other one was to finish strong. Mm-hmm. And both of those I did.
Yeah. So then that's already the check. Yes, I'm satisfied.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like when I got to the end of the 200, I was like fully done. I didn't want to do any more.
Yeah.
But I walked away being like, whoa, like I really put a lot of effort into being positive for as much as I could. And I think for the 150 kilometers, I was super happy and like I was energized and smiley.
Yeah. But do I hear then also out that you were not so satisfied with the Berlin ride and the New Zealand Ironman because you were expecting that you would be completely done afterwards, but you were not?
Yeah.
So would you have been more happy if you were like literally crawling over the finish line?
100%.
So you wanted to give more than that, or was it just too easy for you?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's about easy. I think it's more about like you probably just didn't put in the work that you think you should have done.
Okay.
You know, I feel like I worked really hard on the Ironman, pre-Ironman and also the race day. I worked really hard and had some really like dark moments. But if I wanted to reach the level of being crawling on the floor, I could have worked harder. But my knowledge of the race, because it's a long day, you know, it's like took like 11 hours.
Yeah.
So I think you try and store energy in certain places where I probably could have pushed a bit harder in some areas, which obviously bites you in the ass sometimes, you know?
Yeah. I was reading this already in one of the interviews before that you finished both these events knowing that you were tired, but you could have done more.
100%.
So you could have pushed yourself more. And then also in the question and answer, you talked about like a pain battery. The more you store, like, store? Like the pain battery, the greater the reward will feel afterwards.
100%.
But aren't you afraid that you were like push too much? How do you know where your actual real limit is?
No, I like a mentor of mine is David Goggins. And David Goggins is like an absolutely incredible human being. And he always talks about this rule of the 40% rule, which basically is like your level of pushing. When you think you're actually like at your limit. You're
Yeah.
only at 40% and you have 60%
More to go.
left. You know what I mean? And like when you ask yourself that question, when you actually have nothing left, you're always thinking to yourself, like, how would I even have 2% more? How is it even possible to have 60% more?
You don't see it. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you really don't. And I've kind of taken this concept and turned it a bit into like a, I don't know, like a Prius, like a car that like re-energizes itself.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like it's really hard in that the first 40% is really difficult because it's like, it's challenging. Your body's trying to protect itself and you're trying to tell your body, no, we're going to keep going, whatever. And I feel like when you break through 40%, you just reach a level of calmness again, and you're working hard. You're in your 50% now. You're working hard, but you're not under the same stress as that you were in your kind of 40% like area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that like when you're in that 50% of actually working hard, you can actually start being in this place where you're like, I'm actually reserving a bit of energy here. You know, like if you've ever ran a marathon under a, like, I'm going to do this slow and steady, like discipline, you actually feel good most of the time. You know what I mean? It's only when you start to break at the end where it becomes a problem. You know? So I don't really, like, I feel like you can keep recharging yourself. Yeah. Like, and I like to practice that even now. You know, I find myself getting into really dark areas where I'm like, which percentage am I at right now? Because it feels like my world's collapsing. But if I take David's philosophy, I'm always like, you always have extra. You always have extra.
Yeah. With the 200K, you did tap into the last 60%?
Yeah.
For sure. Okay.
No doubt.
Like nearly cry. You asking me that? Yeah. No. Like no. So like yeah.
Come on, Jake. Be real. Did you even tap into that?
No. To be honest, like the first 100K was easy. Like, I don't think I reached into 40 at all. And then when 100 came, it was like quite difficult. And I'd got into this weird mind game where I hadn't been counting my kilometers at all the whole time. And it was just my teammates had asked me if I wanted to stop real quick for a refuel. And I looked at my watch and I was like, well, it's 94 kilometers in. So why don't we just run 6 to get to 100 and then we can celebrate, right? And saying, oh, let's just run another 6K on 200K project. You're like, well, I mean, what's 6K, right?
10%.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then those last 6K just felt like they were never ending. They just didn't ever, like, I looked at my watch 3 times and the kilometers didn't even change. And I literally was like, oh my God, this is like, my life is going in reverse right now. What's happening? And it just destroyed the positive energy in my head, and it sapped everything from me. Yeah. There's even a video on my, that I've got my story highlights, and there's a video of me literally running up until the 100K mark. And then the next video is me laying on the floor with my legs in the air. Cause I literally was like, oh dear, this is going to be a hard
big barrier.
Yeah.
This is going to be hard. Yeah.
How do your family and girlfriend handle you pushing yourself? Because like these are that you doing this for yourself. It's only you against yourself, but you have so many loved ones around you. Aren't they afraid about you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. My mum is definitely used to it over the years, for sure. She's like, I've like broken so many bones, and she's always been there to like scrape me off the floor and throw me into hospital, right? Another one, get sorted. So she's a bit more used to it. And then like more recently, Paula is getting an understanding that like I can deal with like a level of like pain that probably most other people can't, which probably makes her feel a little bit better. But I mean, obviously if you're putting yourself through hell all the time, then it's a bit like, whoa, you know, and when it's so visual as well. I mean, at the end of the 200K, I was fucked up, like really badly. So, and everyone was giving that kind of like, you know, the poker face where their like heads are still, but their eyes are switching between and everyone's going like, is he okay? Like, should we stop this? And
but nobody like is saying anything because they don't want to like discourage you or destroy your motivation.
We made like an oath. Well, not like an oath, but it was this kind of like, we are finishing.
Yeah, unspoken.
And we are going to do this. And I'd even said to everyone, like, under no circumstances do I want anyone to say anything about quitting. Like at any point, like if any of you guys do that, like it is like not okay.
Yeah.
And I think everyone took that like really solidly, like if that was like a rule that was upheld for sure. But I think at the same time, it was very concerning, definitely.
Yeah, I remember that night, or like when you went for the 200, I woke up at 2-3 in the morning, and I thought like, well, what's Jake doing? So I checked the live track, and that was when Rotterdam.
Yeah.
And
that was a troubled area.
Yeah. Like the dot was moving slower, and then we also the stories came in I saw then you lying on the floor, and I was like, oh my God. I was running with you. I was so sure. I was like, he is going to make it. He is going to finish this race. And then you see that and you're like, oh, I hope he's going to finish this race.
Yeah. That was like the story arc of the day, right? Everyone's like, at the beginning, it was like, yeah, he's going to do this. Yeah, of course he is. And then it was like, oh, he looks like he's showing.
Yes, actually.
And then it was like, oh, fuck. Like, this isn't going to plan.
Yeah.
You know, that's literally how it went. Even for me also. I did not expect it to be that hard. And I must say, like, the heat played a huge role in it being very, it just sucks the energy out of you. Like, really does.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, it was past 35, 36 degrees, I think. So it was extremely hot.
Yeah. And then, the following day was 38.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
In the Facebook event, you actually you create an event so other people could join you we did. And there was it's going to happen on the 8th of August or on the 15th, depending if there is bad weather. So was there anyway a situation where you actually would have moved the race? Because
we thought you would, because when we saw the prediction for the weather, we thought, okay, he's going to move the date, but you did not.
Yeah, so. Well, I was in heavy discussion with myself about this. So I obviously I have this kind of no bullshit approach to basically most things I do, and I was thinking about, because I want to do, I'm sure we'll get into it, a South Pole expedition, and I was thinking about the South Pole, and I was thinking wow, imagine if you were flying into Antarctica, right? And the weather is I don't know, -50 or something. It's super cold. And it would be considered as a cold day there, right? And then you would say to the team, hey guys, we're not going to start the expedition because it's a cold day or whatever. I'm like, hello, it's Antarctica. It's fucking cold all the time. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's it's cold. That's it. So when you start and you do a 50-day expedition in the Antarctica, you don't just get to day 9 or 8 and then you just go, well, today I'm going to sleep in a hotel because it's too cold. It's no, you don't have that option. So for me, the 38 degrees or the hot temperatures, I was like, maybe I won't get a chance that often to just commit to a really intense weather day. And this is learning that I'll need when I'm in Antarctica, you know what I mean? So I was just like, you know what? I think this is an excuse if you pull out, to you. Yeah. And I think it's a lesson that you need to learn right now, that it doesn't matter what the weather or external forces. And again, another lesson about external forces, when you have a mission and you have a goal and a dream and whatever, look, people shit on your idea all the time. And it might be just friends might even just give you a small poke and be like, oh yeah, you just got this small thing going on. But that hurts sometimes actually. And actually, I think developing thick skin in any direction you can, if it's a bad weather day, well, so what? I'm just going to do it anyway. And I got a lot of, it was this video, the Telegraph picked up and we did a video for them. And I went through some of the comments in the comment section. And there was a lot of haters in there, And a lot of the haters were saying, you shouldn't be insured by national insurance because you took you knew that it was going to be hot.
Oh my God.
So you shouldn't be insured if you pass out and need an ambulance or whatever. And I was just like, wow, people's priorities are just so fucked up. You know what I mean? You don't see it for what you're trying to achieve. The byproduct of doing all of my events, I hope to inspire people to push through boundaries. And I think there's a lot of societal boundaries that are in place for us all to break through. Yep. I think that's what we have to all do. We have to, if you want to start something, then you have to push through uncomfortable areas, and some people just don't get that.
Does that affect you a lot?
It used to, yeah. No? It used to. Now I love it.
How did you change
it now. How?
Yeah, your mindset of
Yeah, I think
Actually
it's
laughing
just
about it or
it.
loving it.
yeah. Well, like I think it's probably gone over a time of just having it so constantly. Like I've always been a bit weird, like in terms of like the things that I've been wanting to. People were like, "Oh, I want to like play in a football team," and I was always like, "Well, I want to climb indoor climbing or something," which at the time was weird, you know.
Yeah.
So I think I've had a long history of just being a different kind of guy, and obviously when you're young and you're looking for like credit from people, or to just you're vulnerable because you're looking for some kind of I don't know, credibility or something. And at the time that was what I was searching for, but now I'm like, why do I care what you think? Like, well, I know the more I was asking myself that, the more I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Like, why am I proving myself to anyone other than like, I want to live my life to the fullest and I want to do cool shit. And my cool shit is affecting people positively. So I was like, wow, I'm just going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
That's something I wanted to actually mention is that you have this, you are an inspiration for a lot of people now with all the projects that you've done. How do you feel in this role of because you've been yourself inspired? You mentioned some of the people that inspired you, and now you have also this role of the person inspiring others. How do you feel in having this role now?
I think actually it's less about, and you got to take this the right way. It's less about the people and more about the commitment on yourself. And I think that's actually the strongest message that you can be as an inspirational person, that isn't about like my direct effect on others. It's more about the lesson of get your own shit fucking sorted out. And like, if I can just be a messenger of someone who goes, commitment to something is the key to being successful in life. And I don't mean success financially. I mean successful in like, you were happy in your life. You did great memories and you can share great stories, whatever. It's all about like looking after your own stuff. I say this quite often, which is like, we need to change the phrase of being selfish to something better, because selfish gets such a bad like association with the rest of the world. Cause it's like being selfish is just all about like, oh, I'm going to keep all the food and no one else can eat it. Like something like that, you know? But like, no, imagine if everyone was super like internally thinking on their own projects. Like you would find the best, I don't know, avocado stores, or you would find like Indian stores with, I don't know, like a Moroccan twist because they just loved Indian and Moroccan stuff. You know what I mean? And I think the more people can look internally and believe in their own stuff, the better.
Yeah.
Like
do you
100%. Do you just whatever it is, just do it. It's cool as long as you're not harming people, and then fuck you.
Yeah, that's a good message. I like it.
Yeah. Part of your journeys or projects that you do is, or like a big part is the mental part, like the visualization of the route.
100%.
You knew the 200Ks perfectly out of your head. But also like, when you thought about quitting, you thought, if I quit now, how do I ever get to the South Pole?
Yeah.
But if you are on the South Pole, how do you do it there? Because you can't, do you visualize 1,500 kilometers of white? Or
that's easy
what is going to put? Yeah, it basically
completely blinded now. Just go straight.
I'm done. Yeah.
Or, like, but also like you have, I don't know, maybe at that point you have a new goal back then, but like now the South Pole pushed you through 200K. But what is going to push you through the South Pole if it becomes hard? Well, difficult to ask.
No, it's not. No, it's a great question. And I think that's, there's something in that question that's like, I can answer that question in a few years' time. I can't answer that question right now. And that's because I'm not ready to answer that question. I'm not ready yet to understand what the South Pole actually is. Like, I think a big part of like choosing and dedicating yourself to stuff is to dream huge, like something way above and way beyond where your sight is. Frankly, I don't know the answer to that question. I think like past Jake didn't know anything. I think present Jake might know a little bit and future Jake will know, right? But like I'm right now as present Jake, you know what I mean? And I think if you take that philosophy into stuff, like what the South Pole is is like someone announcing that they want to like run for president.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's huge.
Yeah.
It's not just like, I'm going to win a gold medal in a running race. It's like, it's massive.
Yeah.
You know, and I think like, that's the thing that I also want to show as well, as like, as you asked as well, like how do you feel as a role as someone who inspires people? Like I'm living my words through even my own events. You know what I mean? So I'm learning and growing as a human being. And when I'm ready for the South Pole, I pull the trigger on it. But like, until then, I have a lot of work to do. Yeah. And I also want to show that I have a lot of work to do. I have loads of growing to do. And I know there's a lot of haters already being like, you've got no polar experience. And I'm like, yeah, I have a dream and I have no polar experience. But I'll get in 3 years' time for sure some Arctic experience, 100%, and then we can have that conversation again.
Yeah.
You know,
so you really trust the process, actually.
100%. Yeah. Because you just like, we live in a world now where like Instagram is guiding our thought process and stuff, and we open up a page and it's someone with 100,000 followers, and you go, whoa, they're amazing. What did they do? And then you actually just, and it's so fast and instant, and they. Or like the concept of stuff going viral. It's like, it just blew up in one day and then all of a sudden you're famous. And you're like, you made like one little video and now all of a sudden you're on talk show. Oh, well, I'm like, you didn't work for shit. Like you just did like this small thing. And I'm sorry to the influencers or the people on Instagram who have grinded, and I respect those people. But the people who blow up over one day over something trivial, I just don't respect at all. Yeah. I really don't. And I think we should call them out more as well. Like, what did you earn? What did you work for? Yeah. I think like life should be about like, call me old school, but like work for what you
work hard.
Work hard. Yeah.
But it's in the end also not completely their fault, because we, like society, made them blow up.
Yeah.
We made them big.
100%. Yeah. I don't like the system.
Yeah.
You know what I
mean? 200K seemed quite like when I heard of it, I thought like, wow, that's a big physical challenge. Like you have to run 200K, but actually seeing you go through it, it seemed more like a mental challenge than physical. Do I see this right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. You mentioned about mental strategy. Yeah. The mental approach is like solid in everything that I'm doing now. And like, I'm finding actually that there's even top performing athletes who I'm now in contact with since I've been doing these projects, that they are not discussing like mental strength and mental power. And I'm like, wow, like people who are at the top of their game aren't discussing what I believe is the most powerful thing in your head, in your body, which is your mind.
Yeah,
for sure.
And like I had I got a massage from one of the dudes who does all the Olympic team, the Dutch Olympic team. And we had this chat and I was literally blown away by like how surprised he was at how confident I was.
Yeah.
He was like, well, I haven't had like, you're extremely confident guy in what you're talking about. And that's not always the case with people you think should have a strong mind. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, what are we talking about? The same people here? Like you're talking about Olympians, you know? And that really kind of surprised me. Yeah. And I think now like that's given me an area to like really play in. Because because I've always thought that this is kind of the case, but then to hear it like that, I was like, whoa, we all need to talk about this more.
Yeah.
And like, this is like obviously a tricky situation here, tricky topic also, like the whole mental health topic. And I got some backlash on this a while ago, but like for me, it's like, we've progressed a lot in mental health. We've progressed a lot, and the conversation is now developing into a place where there's people who are at the lowest end of like, who are in like a bad place, who have grown and they've like found a place to be in society due to the conversation of mental health. But for me, it like there becomes like a negative twist on the topic of mental health. And like, I'm an extremely positive guy. And I believe that when you start shaping this conversation towards mental strength, like even the word makes it sound stronger. Like it makes it sound positive, and it makes it like, it turns it into this whole, like, what are we doing to improve versus like,
what's happening?
Yeah, like
something I don't know, to take care of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is an element which is true.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I want to make something amazing. I don't want to make something like just like at the level. And I think that's where I have to be really clear on who my audience should be as well. I can be really clear on this, and I've come to this myself as well. I am absolutely not for everyone. Like my message isn't for everyone, and I could say that very clearly. My message is for people who really have a moment where they go, I want to change, and I want to have a leg up in life, and that's where I come in, because then I can really help push that. But if you're not at that stage, I can't help you, because it will just end up coming across like I'm an asshole. Yeah. Which some people do feel that way, you know?
Yeah.
You cannot please everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And that's okay. Yeah. Also. And that's a good life lesson also. You don't have to be for everyone.
I wish more people would understand that, the deep meaning of that. Be yourself, do what you do, and don't fucking care about the haters. And
100%.
But that's not easy, of course. That's a journey, and that's something you learn over time as well.
Yeah. Surprise, people don't like everyone.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next events that you're going to have, what other aspects are you going to train? Or is it always going to be the mental part?
Mental part is like the most important part.
Yeah.
You know, like I can learn how to do some good rope work within a season, you know, and I can do some homework quite easily, but getting your mind into a position where it's like really strong. And again, David Goggins talks a lot about the cookie jar philosophy, which is like in the shortest description, it's like all the cookies in the cookie jars are strong memories of where you overcome something in life. So you fill your cookie jar of really super strong memories. Yeah. And those memories, I believe you can only get when you put yourself through some hell for a while. Yeah. Because they're the really strong, the strongest. Yeah, they're the strongest cookies. And they're the things that like, for me, all of those memories for me are moments where I've overcome something. Yeah. So when I've hit absolute rock bottom, that moment where I came out of it, I've stored the exact moment, the smell, the feel, the look, everything about that moment, and I've stored it in my head. So whenever I need to call on that memory where I was, and it puts hairs on my arm right now, where it just like lifts me up, and I'm like, whoa, yeah, like I overcame that moment, and then I finished the Ironman, or like at 5 a.m. on the Berlin ride, I was nearly passed out in a German bakery at 6 a.m. and I couldn't speak or anything. And I was like, I have to stop. But then I was like, fuck that, I'm going to go. And then I did anyways. Yeah. And that is a good memory for me of like, when you thought it was all over, it wasn't, you know?
So we actually can expect that all the events that you will do in the future, you will push yourself even more and even harder than you did with the 200K.
Yeah, well, that'll be hard for sure. But the next one is Iceland, the cycle around the edge of Iceland. Yeah. Yeah. And that came to me from an idea. There's a photographer called Chris Burkhardt.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's good.
Yeah, he's good. He's an amazing photographer. Like,
a fun guy, I
really
think,
look up to him. Yeah. And he did this ride, and it's actually it was an organized race. I'm not sure if it's still going on now, but it was supposed to be a relay. Mm-hmm. So you're supposed to tag in to your teammates who go around. It's 1,400 kilometers.
And he said, fuck it?
And he just went, fuck it, I'm doing it. I'm just going to do it all alone. And I was just like, love it. Like, what? That's crazy. I was like, what? That's insane. And then he did it. And I was like, whoa, like, wow, like there's so far. Like, and to just even say that, and he had a huge platform. He has like 1 million, 3 million followers on Instagram, and he announces this online. And I was like, whoa, you can't even back out of this now either. You can, but like you've said it online, and now everyone knows, and everyone knows what you're training for. And then he went and did it, and I was just like, wow, like I'm gonna do that one day. Yeah. I was like, I'm doing it one day, almost in respect to you. Yeah. Like I was just like, wow, I'll do it because you did it. And then I was like, oh wow, like that's how I see how this information's reciprocated through people. Yeah. He had this unreal effect on me, and I felt it firsthand for what commitment looks and feels like. Yeah. So I know what the audience feels like. You know, if something really makes you go, holy fuck, and you're inspired, wow, like it'll make you do like anything crazy, you know? Yeah. Yeah. I have zero experience with cycling. How long does this take? That'll take 50 hours.
Okay, so that's
nonstop, like no
Non-stop.
sleeping.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it took me 28 hours of riding to Berlin to get there. 28 hours.
Wow. Do you have all your events already lined up, or
Not all, but like I have an idea of
Bits of projects.
Yeah, like a few of us have been talking about the UTMB as well, which is like the hardest race, like the hardest ultra race at least. Yeah. And I've heard a lot about this, and it's that sounds like an interesting place to navigate to. But I think that's like going to be one that slots into the right place. You know what I mean? Like I also want to go to Greenland to do like a proper Arctic project after Iceland.
Yeah.
Because I do want to get a bit more familiar in the snow. Yeah.
This time, more than
and put on some more weight and like actually be protected by the cold without the wind changes and I'm like freezing. You know, I like weighed 65, 64 kilograms, you know. That's what you get for being an ultra runner.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. The UTMB is a very known crazy race, and when I looked at the images and the guys, and of course the landscape is amazing. Yeah, that's insane. Mm-hmm. But the race itself, it's incredible. I'm always inspired by that kind of people. Yeah, and not only the winning the people, but the everyday people like me that I was like, hey, okay, I'm gonna prepare for this, and I'm just gonna fucking do it. Yeah, and you commit.
It's crazy.
And it's just
Yeah, well, it's the thing that's like commitment is the key, and like that's the thing that you might even find yourself not realizing that was the most important part of your description. Like when people talk about like, whoa, did you see that person do this? Like it isn't always about what they did, what was the most interesting thing. It was actually more about the sacrifice and I think commitment and sacrifice are like quite close together. Yep. And when you see someone who's just kind of given everything to it, that's the thing that's most inspiring, because they had to drop drinking every day to not drinking every day. They had to change their diet. They had to not talk to their friends as much. They had to like change their life to be able to do this thing,
Yeah. How much of a commitment is it for you when you have a project? Do you change your life a lot, or this is something you do basically?
And like the first project with Ironman, like it was a big like hit to the friends I have in Amsterdam who are like amazing, and they're still with me now, which is like awesome. It's so good, and I really like love all of those guys. But it was just basically like, I'm doing a project, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to be away for a while. Yep. Living in the same city, but like that's just how it is. And like a lot of, and even on this running project, like I dropped more weight than I ever have done in my life. And I started to look a lot skinnier than normal. And even for me, looking in the mirror, I was starting to get a bit uncomfortable with even how I looked and my shape. And I was asking myself questions like, wow, should I be doing some like arm exercises? Because now I'm starting to feel a bit weird in my own skin. Yep. But like, then I asked myself again, like, okay, if you want to be an ultra runner, is this what it takes? Like, is looking like how you look right now what it takes to be an ultra runner? And the answer is yes. And if that's the answer, then why am I bothered? Yeah. You know what I mean? And that really helps when it comes to being self-conscious, or because I'm a human being as well. Like, I have all these same feelings that everyone else has. I just might have a better way to like sift out the bullshit, which is more of a binary approach to things. Like, should it be okay or not okay? And you're like, it can be okay. And you're like, okay, cool. No. And that's where the thoughts stop. You know, the people who are like worried and stressed about stuff is because they didn't answer that question right. And now they're off on this huge journey of like unanswered questions. It's super fucking complicated. Should I look this way or not? I'm not sure. Like, should I eat like this at a restaurant? And that's where it gets really messy. Yeah. It gets really messy.
Yeah, there was actually also a question from one of our listeners, like, what's your life, sport, work balance look like? And also, there was another one, but I actually forgot this one. Maybe you answer this one first and the other one comes back.
The work-life balance is I have a job, so I working full-time hours, and I find time to exercise. Look, you can run a half marathon after work every single day. Easy. That's true. Seriously. Yeah. You literally can find that time between like 6 and 8 o'clock. You can, if you're confident of running, you can find the time between 8 and 8 is dinner time. So like, is it that like when you say you don't have enough time, I'm like, but 6 till 8 is actually really reasonable to exercise, right? So you can run every day.
Yeah.
So then I start to like really miss the approach when people ask me like, oh, how do you find the time? And I'm like, because there was always time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the level of the difference of level of priorities and motivation and commitment between people.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that matters because time we have.
Yeah. It's just like, how do you find the time is just a question of like, what do you prioritize?
Yeah.
Do
you prefer watching Netflix or going out for a run?
Yeah.
Like you didn't find time because you spent it all watching Netflix, you know?
Indeed.
But that's it.
True.
But it's true. And then it's like, but I want to unwind. And I'm like, well, I'm unwinding whilst improving my life. So why are you not doing both?
No.
And then they're like, well, that sounds difficult. And then I'm like, well, you're just not prioritizing it then. You just don't understand it. You don't know that that's the power of doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And anyway, when you're watching Netflix, it's more about putting yourself into someone else's life anyways.
Yeah. Another part is a lot of people that actually go for such long endurance events or like extra, that you have to train a lot. Let's say it like this. Their social circle like shrinks. But you mentioned many times already that you actually found more friends, like that you are more connected with people.
Yeah, but in different levels though.
Okay.
Yeah, like my core team, my like Amsterdam, who we have the WhatsApp group, they're the same. They don't change.
Yeah.
Like they're my core team, and my network has changed because I've like come into contact with a lot more people, and the strength of those stranger relationships has developed a lot. And like I'm on very much name basis with a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people. I spend a lot more time sending like voice notes to people versus like text because I just want to be a bit more personal, and like that's reciprocated the other way around. And like you develop way more of a life with people who care about the same stuff you do. You know what I mean? And that's really nice. But yeah, like the core team is the same. Yeah, like you got to look after your number ones, you know?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to your team because they were amazing during the 200K. The nicest people. And we could see that you were in good hands, and that was nice. Yeah, that was very cool.
Yeah, like, and it wasn't easy to get like the team like all in one place at one time. It was like, obviously everyone's got their own agenda and everything. So it's like, running a 200K thing is one thing. Planning a 200K thing is another thing. And training for a 200K thing is another thing on top of that. And like, you know, and that list just goes on and on and on. So there was a lot of pressure. And you were saying earlier about the work-life balance and social friends and whatever. Like, look, you have to not socialize as much. Yeah. You know what I mean? That just happens.
Yeah.
You know?
Was there ever a moment where you thought like, why am I even doing this public? Why am I not just running the 200K myself? Because especially preparing such an event, having so many people around you like involved is so much effort, isn't it?
Yes. But for me, that was like a real, like I did a lot of things by myself, and there was too many people saying to me after I came back from a mountain trip, and I'd improved quite fast with mountaineering. Over the space of only 2 or 3 years, I'd done some pretty decent climbs, and I just went from kind of like small hikes to like pretty intense like Switzerland climbs actually, which was like next level. Wait, what was my train of thought?
The question was why the group, why even the effort?
So I did a lot of these solo, and the main thing was that people said, oh yeah, like I wish I could just somehow be the fly on the wall when I see you in a shack like in the middle of nowhere and snowed under. And I was like, wow, like people actually don't just want to talk to me about it. They want to almost see it, like, you know. And I even had a friend from Australia say to me, who I used to be really good friends with in UK. He was like, you need to find a way of actually presenting this work better. Like you actually need to work on your presenting skills, because you actually have a good product, but your presenting is whack. Like it's so bad, and it could be so much better. And I liked his way in because he was like, he wasn't saying, you know, become an influencer or some bullshit, because I would have responded really badly if someone asked me to do that anyway, because I don't like the idea of an influencer anymore. I think but he just said, just look better. And I was like, interesting. And I started to think about how I could do something on like home ground and bring this whole energy to my real network, my people who I live with.
Yeah.
And then like this running project came up, and then all of a sudden it was like, it absolutely exploded. It was crazy. Like the amount of people who have volunteered or like had a way in somewhere, it's just mad. It's mad.
That's also at this point that we actually got to know you and discover who you are.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, there's this random guy that we don't know about, and he's gonna run 100K in a park in a loop.
Yeah.
And that was amazing, and we were so inspired by this. I think we couldn't make it to that date, but then we saw the second project, which was the last one, the 200K, and we were like, we have to be there. We have to be part of this. This is unique.
Yeah, and it was good seeing you guys.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, the Vondelpark loop that was done on purpose. It was supposed to be a very statement-based run. It was like, we're not just running 100K. It's going to be laps, and it's going to be the laps of a park where you go to train every Sunday morning, once a week, and you do your run and you walk home and you go, yeah, that was good. I did my lap of Vondelpark. So it's like, you don't have to explain to someone what Vondelpark is. They know it.
They can
already.
Relate right away.
They relate to it instantly. And when you say to them, we're going to do 31 laps of that, and that's going to be 100K, it's like instantly people go, what the fuck? Like what? How many laps? Like what?
Say again?
Yeah. And that's the thing that makes it really like powerful. That as soon as you're able to make people understand what you're doing and make it relatable, then people love it.
And it's so nice that it's centered so people can really join easily as well.
Yeah. And people did as well. This crazy guy from Schiphol, he was following the Pato running team's Instagram live thing because we were updating their account. And he joined, and he was just hovering next to me. And I was having a bit of a dark moment, and I was listening to my music, and he kind of just came alongside, and I said hello. And he was like, oh yeah, I just like saw Pat's Instagram updating, and I saw you running around Vondelpark, and I saw you had like 2 hours left, and I thought I'd just come. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, what?
That's the effect you have on people.
Like, yeah, but like, that's the effect of someone who commits to something has the effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it does.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want to shy away from it, me being a personality, because that could be true also. But I think the main thing is just like, when someone really commits to something, that's the effect that it has.
Yeah.
People just go, what? I want to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, I want to support that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. Nice. Cool. I think it's time for a few questions from the audience.
Yeah. Okay.
So the questions we receive usually via Instagram or Facebook. You guys can also send your questions just before we record an episode, or you can drop your question via speakpipe.com/whatthecrewpodcast. And the first question is...
It's from Chantal Janssen. We had her on the podcast, or on one of our last podcasts, and she asked, what was your first biggest achievement? How did you prepare for it?
Good one.
I thought this was a quick one, because actually I thought we talked already about it, but he is thinking.
Biggest achievement. Yeah, it's very difficult to choose one.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, like, at what stage in my life? I guess the answer, the question is probably more in the sporting area in my life, right?
I guess so.
Well,
but
doesn't have to be.
It's open.
It would probably be the Ironman.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think it was just the turning point in what it was, just where all the learning was. So I learned all about mental strength. I learned all about physical strength. I learned about dedication. I learned to accept guidance from others. That was a big one for me, which was just like allowing others to actually tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like in work, especially, I definitely had a problem with like, I just took the millennial approach into an office, which is like cutthroat and relentless in many areas. And I thought I knew what was best. And actually the answer was no. Like you have people who know what they're fucking talking about.
Yep.
And if this young gun comes in and thinks he knows everything, it's just like you get, you know what I mean? And that's something I think everyone needs to learn the hard way. And in terms of how did I prepare for it? Well, again, I want the main takeaway of this whole podcast to be commitment. And I think that's how I prepared. It was literally just like, I have a year from today to train for an Ironman. I don't know how to fucking swim. find a gym where I can swim. I didn't actually ever get lessons for swimming. I just did it all on YouTube. So everything I learned about triathlon was from GTN YouTube channel, which is amazing. It's so good. I learned everything on there, and I just did homework every day. How does the hand supposed to enter into the water, and like a more skill. And I was already a good runner, and I'd already a good cyclist, so it was more just getting myself into a position where I could train at least 5 days a week.
Yeah,
and that was it. Yeah.
The next one from Tim Kekstra. When do you start thinking about what's next?
After I've done the thing.
But
one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not like I like to keep the South Pole idea is a great idea. I call it like a gravity goal, because like we can talk about this forever, and we will do, like as time goes on. It's something that keeps everything in motion, and everyone understands that I have like progression ahead of me. But when it comes to what's next, you cannot do that until you've done your thing. Like whatever you're working on, like work on that and only that and nothing else. And until you've finished it, then think about what's after that. But like not until you've done it.
We have a question from Alexandra, which is, was there anyone who was trying to dissuade you from doing this crazy challenge? And how did you respond to that, if there were any dissuasion?
Yeah, loads.
I guess.
Loads.
Yeah, you said with the haters and the people.
Yeah, there was loads. There was haters. There was people who said I couldn't do it because I was like not strong enough. There was people who were saying that the weather was too bad. There was some people saying I was doing it just for attention. There's like all this stuff. And the funny thing is just like, I'm the one sat here on a podcast after running 200K. So fuck all you guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Seriously.
You got it, guys.
and that's how it is. It's just like, there was loads of people, but the honesty, the thing is you can have a supportive team and you can have supportive friends, but when it comes down to it, you are running that race, and that's really the only thing that matters at that time. So unless you disagree with it, then just keep pushing on. Like, why would anyone else? Why they're not making your team isn't making you run. Your team is supporting you running. Yep. You know what I mean? From a logic base, you understand? Like, it's you.
Nobody said like, Jake, you should do this. That's a cool idea. Why don't you do? No, it came from you.
Like,
yeah, and you know what you're doing because it's your thing.
Yeah.
So
another friend of us, Francielli. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm always wrong with her. Fran, do you think it's harder to prepare physically or mentally?
Mentally.
Yeah. We discussed 100%. This many times.
Yeah. Physical, you can get yourself like, for instance, Ironman, I had a year to train, and I did a 6-month training plan. So I didn't actually do a year training plan. I did some larger cycling distances, and I did a few weird things like in the middle. And then I did a 6-month training plan. Month 4, I was ready to do a full Ironman. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
So like that should say a lot about how this works.
It's again like this.
Your body changes very fast, but like your head doesn't. You have to take time to get your head into a place where it's like, how do I know? Why am I confident that I can run, like finish an Ironman? That's a question that was basically present the whole year. You know what I mean? And it really got to kind of like the 3rd, 4th, 5th month of my training plan where I was like, I can do this. You know what I mean? But like the first 6 months, I was like, oh my God.
What did I do?
Oh my God. Yeah.
What did I sign up for?
Yeah. 100%.
Oh.
How do you train actually mentally? Because there's nothing you can really do. Like we can read books and talk with people, but except for the actual physical training, that is also partly mental for sure. How do you yourself train mentally? Yeah,
well, like I like to sometimes go in with a plan of it on a really simple run, for example. Like I'll go in with a run and I'll reach a point in my run where I'm like, I am really tired and I don't think I'm going to carry on after this point. And as soon as I say that in my head, as soon as my brain says that, then I say, well, we're going to plus on 3K. And that's it.
The 60%.
Yeah, exactly. and that's just how my brain has slowly been wired. Yeah. That like when my brain starts to come into a place where it says no, then I override it and say yes. And like I think at any single chance, and that's not just running, that could be in a meeting, for example. You go into a meeting and you're shitting yourself and you're like, oh, I've got to talk to like fucking 5 people and whatever. You just say, you go sit in a toilet, close toilet door, stand there with your arms open and say, I'm going to fucking nail this meeting.
Power pose.
And just get to a position where you're like, I'm confident.
Yeah.
And just remember that moment. Remember the moment where you were doubting yourself, and then remember the moment when you weren't. And that is that's mental training right there. That's like collecting all of those memories of like, oh, I feel better. And also remembering, again, using a meeting as an example, everyone's scared of going into meetings before they have to present something. It's just normal. You leave the meeting and then all of a sudden you're like, why was I so scared about that? That was like not even scary at all.
Yeah, sure.
Remember that also. That's mental training. Like, remember that like you cooked up that problem and you then lived it and there was no problem at all. And that's a learning curve. Mm-hmm. Like, learn from that. You know what I mean? And I think that's mental training.
I think that's a key here, right here. That
and
people
you train
always
it in the
forget.
day. Yeah.
Yeah. They always think about, oh yeah, I remember. That's not the first time I'm on stage. I have stage fright. Mm-hmm. I remember about the fear. You don't remember about how you overcome it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing people should focus on, is the positive. And
100%.
The like, oh yeah, it was not that hard.
Yeah.
And that's the key, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And also like, a lot of my mentors also talk about actively challenging yourself in any place. So for example, I mean, I haven't done this yet myself, but I understand the value of it, where you walk into any store and then ask for a discount for anything.
Yeah.
Because what happens when when have you ever asked for a discount? Have you ever felt actually like 100% sure of yourself when you've done it? No, right? Because you're always feeling cheeky, or like, it's always like third world country or something like that. And you're like, oh, can you give me a like this? And then you feel a bit weird. But like the sentiment is that like, put yourself in uncomfortable situations a lot of the time and do it actively. The more you actively put yourself in a position where it's a little bit awkward, like, or just approaching someone who you wouldn't normally want to approach. If you're single, go and approach a girl or a guy or whatever you're into. If you're like, I don't know, it's just confrontation. Like, search for that more. You know, like actively put yourself into positions where you are having a bit of a hard time dealing with it mentally. And that applies in life and that applies in sport. And they both apply together. You know what I mean? Like all the stuff that you learn in life, you can apply to sport, and the same way the other way around. Yeah. Like I was doing a lot of 5K runs, and the 5K runs basically taught me a lot about life. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was like, I can't go on at 4K. And then I was like, oh, I finished it. And then you're like, you know what I mean? You're like, how did that happen? How did I on kilometer 4 say there was nothing left? And then all of a sudden I'm here and I've stopped my watch and it's 5K. You're like, okay. You know?
Yeah.
Put yourself into the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's also the fact that the more you go out of your comfort zone, the bigger your comfort zone is, because it grows with you. Yeah. And then you keep on doing those experiences.
It's a cookies, basically, because you kind of realize the first time you were awkward asking for discount or approaching someone new on the street, and then you remember, it's fine. What's the worst that can happen?
I don't fucking care. You ask for discount all the time.
Never paying full price again.
You come in the shop like, yo, bitch. Nice.
Alexandra also asked, were your thoughts mainly focused on the run itself, or were you trying to distract yourself with something else? Assuming she's talking about the 200K.
The run,
I think that's double. I think, unfortunately, I want to say one thing, but I actually think both. I think there's times, I think the thing with mental training is that it's very complicated, and you have to find mechanisms. Your brain is actually really complicated, and it's also really sneaky.
Yeah, like, no shit.
Your brain is super sneaky, and it finds ways of convincing you without you even realizing it's doing it. Yeah. And I find that like that's what happens when you're struggling with anything in life, where like 1 minute you're okay, a small doubt sneaks in that you can push aside, but then a sneaky doubt comes in and it slowly fucking fucks with you for a bit, and it slowly convinces you that like there is something more here, and like really you have to be smart with that, and you have to know that it's going to come at all different areas. So sometimes it's really appropriate to only, when your mind's clear and you can just coast for a bit, just think about running. Just think about running and be really meditative. Look at your feet for a bit. Like, look at just what's going on around you. I try and think about nothing when there's stuff around. And that might sound weird, but I try and like almost see white noise. I just try and blank out completely, which I would consider as concentrating as running, right? But then when it comes to distracting yourself, I would say, yes, I absolutely do that as well.
Yeah.
Because when the sneaky motherfucker comes in and starts to really fuck with me, then I have to get really smart with trying to convince myself I'm thinking of something else. Yeah. So it's like, get the cookies out quick. Like, which one's working? Like sometimes the one cookie doesn't work. So I have to put myself in a different situation.
Interesting, yeah.
You know, and you have to be smart and you have to be fast with it as well. Because if your brain's quicker than you most of the time,
you lose the game.
But the only thing is your brain is actually really good at focusing on one thing at a time. You know what I mean? So like, you just need to be really clear of where your thought is going. Yeah. As soon as your like sneaky brain gets you and it gets you into a moment of doubt, that doubt thought will just will explode. And you've got to really stop that from happening, because the more you focus on anything, the more it happens, you know? So it's like, if I need to run, I'm thinking about running only, you know?
Yeah, but on the same time, like the moment realizing
if I need to be the cookie, then it's the only cookie.
Yeah, and like the moment that you had like 94 kilometers on the then you should not focus on running, because that made you like crazy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, like I was thinking about counting kilometers, and then it fucked me.
Yeah. Two questions we kind of put together because they are related. One from Tim asking, how do you recover? What is your recovery like? And one from Lisanne asking, how do you prevent injuries during these awesome, long-lasting projects?
You said you recovered quite quickly after the project, right?
Yeah, it took longer to recover after the 100K than it did the 200K.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it took 2 days to recover from the 200, and then maybe a week and a half from the 100.
How do you think? Why do you think this is?
Fuck knows.
Random body, you know.
I think I don't know. To be honest, I have no idea. I don't know why that was the case. It just was. But how do I recover? I think recovery sounds like a thing that you do afterwards, after the event or whatever. But recovery is knit into the project. You're always recovering as you're training. So it's not like, what am I going to do to protect myself?
It's wait and see. Yeah,
you are stretching every day without fail. If you miss a stretch day, then punishment somehow. Like you have to tell yourself, I don't know, like however you want to punish yourself somehow. You want to like not spend money on a takeaway or something. I don't know. Like you have to just be clear that it happens every day. And also like, get into ice baths or try and get, and the money that you save from not spending it on takeaways, which I'm bad with.
But maybe that you save on alcohol.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I would then absolutely invest in getting a massage. Like they are really, really helpful. Yeah.
And the
injuries. Yeah, like focus on running form. Like, to be honest, I think there's two things. There is like, when you get an injury that comes out of nowhere, that's unfortunate and you have to tend to that, and that's a problem, right? But when you have people who say, I have runner's knee, they're like, no, you don't have runner's knee. You had bad form. Like, that's how I feel about it. And like the majority of the time, that's what happens. You're doing it wrong. So you have to learn how to run properly, and it's simple. It's not rocket science. You literally go to one forum on the internet and you figure it out. Like, just don't overstride.
Yeah, you literally.
That's the main one. Like,
you do more prevention in general. So that's why the recovery is quite quick for you. It seems. Yeah,
like really, really focus on like how to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, because then you just don't get injured as much. And that's not to say that I haven't been injured. Yeah. Because there has been times where I got a foot injury after I did a 60-kilometer run, and that was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
It was because I was supposed to do the 200K run in April.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was lying to say that I was fit for it in April, because in March I could barely even run 5K because I was still injured. And I was just committing to the day until like maybe the last week where I might have pulled the project.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I would consider that as a surprise injury.
Yeah.
So then it was just rest.
How do you handle when things don't work out how you plan them to?
What with injuries?
Life and maybe in general.
Well,
go with it.
But yeah, like maybe if it didn't go the way, like you got to just assess why it didn't go right. Like, don't be too hard on yourself. Like if you had your plan of, I had my 200K goal and I had how I wanted to do the 200K and you didn't make the 200K, then at least you have like some credit to yourself to say that you at least did it in the way you wanted to. And if you didn't do either of them, yeah, well, then you need to fucking try harder. You didn't try hard enough. You didn't do it right. And like, that's fine. Like to tell someone who tried hard at something, who failed and didn't do it the way they wanted it, and they still didn't do the goal. Yeah. Well, great. You failed. Like, I'm sorry, do it again. Yeah. You don't get a gold medal for trying. Yeah. Like in school, I got like a lot of,
A for effort?
Yeah, no, yeah, stuff like most improved student and bullshit like that. I never was an A grade student ever. I always got like the shit awards of like the failing student who like tried hard in a class, you know? And like that kind of award is just such bullshit because really it doesn't mean anything. And all it means is like, hey, we want to try and make the worst student a little bit like feel a bit better so they try harder later. No, just don't give the award. The award's false. It's wrong.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like it. Yeah,
it's just it doesn't. What is it? It celebrates like nothing. It celebrates bad behavior. It celebrates.
Well, I guess it's trying to encourage people to like go on this path of doing better.
But it's tricky because because I believe in encouragement, but I like the actual longer lasting result of being given an award for doing shit. Yeah. How is that a good message?
Yeah. I guess for kids, maybe difficult sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We're going to close up the episode with our favorite 2 questions that we ask every guest on the podcast, which is if you could give one piece of advice of basically everything we talked today to the listeners and the viewers, what would it be?
The advice is clear and I feel like I've achieved it myself, which is nice because I came in here saying it like this should be the takeaway. Commit to your shit. Like just really commit and be okay with committing and also just be vocal about what you're doing. Like tell people because not only does it inspire people, but it also leaves you extremely accountable for everything that you do. So that's the like key one for me is just commit and be vocal about what you're doing. And
the second question is who should we invite to the show? Who would you like to hear here? Or what topic are you interested to learn more about?
Yeah, like I'm not sure about the person.
Okay.
But I feel like you should flesh out more about like what's going on in people's minds. Like
so the mental part.
Try and figure out like what's the missing link when it comes to people. What is the thing that is? I think when people say like, why do you do what you do? Mm-hmm. I don't think that question is enough because I don't think a lot of people actually can articulate what it is that is driving them. And I think we should all try and dig a bit deeper and the question should be a bit more like, don't stop the questioning at like, oh, really? That's why you do it. You should be another why and another why and another why and like really dig into what's like really changing people because that's where you get some really interesting, like you even sit back yourself and go, wow, like that's what drives you? Like, no way. There was actually a really good, I'll just keep this short, but there was a guy called Ronnie Coleman, who's a 5-time Mr. Olympia. He's like an incredible human being. And he was on a talk show and the host said, what drove you to become a Mr. Olympian? And he went, yeah, well, I didn't get paid much at the time, and they offered me a free membership at a gym.
I remember that
I know
guy.
This.
Yes.
I was actually thinking about
that. Was awesome.
Yeah, I got a free membership at a gym, and
so I went.
And then I went, and then he was like, "Okay, yeah," but and you could hear the host being like, "Oh, I didn't really answer my question." So he was like, "Yeah, but like, what was the driving force?" And he was like, "Yeah, well." Yeah, because I got a free gym membership, and that's kind of why. Yeah, that was
awesome.
And the host just wouldn't let it go, and he kept going in and being like asking, but trying to find a way around.
No,
why.
That's a free membership.
Yeah, that's all he said, and I was just like, whoa! Like,
was this guy on the Joe Rogan podcast?
I
think that was Joe Rogan podcast.
Like 5-time Mr. Olympia or something.
Awesome.
And he just did it for the free membership, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
don't need much.
Yeah, but the thing is, the reason why now it's so interesting to the three of us is because of how many times he told you that is just why he did it. You know, because like if we would have just left it, like, why did you do it? Oh, because I got a free membership, and then the conversation moved on.
Yeah,
you're almost left wondering, was that it? was there more to that conversation, or what was really the thing? And the humorous thing is that we found out that actually was the thing, you know? So I would just encourage digging in, you know?
Yeah. If people are interested about you and want to find out more, where can they find you?
I mainly operate on Instagram, so get on to Jake Catterall. That's just what I'm building right now. And I do some stuff on Facebook, which is the same name.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just check me out on Instagram. Like, I'm always there. And also send me a message as well. Like, I'm also really keen to learn about people as well, which is really cool. Yeah.
Awesome message. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like, there's anyway in the show notes, we are going to link you so people can click through.
Do. Yeah.
And follow Jake for the next adventures, next
Iceland.
Projects.
Yeah, we saw already that you started cycling.
Yeah. It's happened already. I've been dying to get back on the bike.
It was one thing also we thought about, like, is this Croatia break, this 2-week break that you took after the 200K, the only break that you give yourself? And it literally is. You came back and you got back on the bike.
Yeah.
You because you can't wait actually doing it.
Yeah.
Gotta do something.
I don't know what, I know what you mean by break, obviously, because it's like you got to have a break from doing it. But I'm like, a break?
Why?
If you love doing something, why would you want a break?
Yeah.
Like, why do you need a break if you're doing something that you really love doing?
Yep.
Well, in that case, it was also to rest from the 200K, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that became quite difficult towards the end, but like, that's how I feel. It's like, it's not, like, I'm like, I get energy from doing what I do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like, that's why waiting then.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for coming over. It was a blast.
Yeah, thank you.
We love to have you here. And guys, you can always find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and all your favorite podcast platform for the future episodes.
Yeah, you can support us on Patreon.
Yay! We have one Patreon.
Yeah, we have one Patreon.
Yeah, Alex, shout out to you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you want to meet us in live and want to run with us, then join us every Tuesday at Neude at 7:00 with our social run Tuesday. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you much.
Thanks so much for inviting me. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.